music a bit. Hi there, everybody. Welcome. It's me, Halfdork. So, I know what you're thinking. Where is he? Where's Halfdork? And I have come to your aid. Today, we're going to be talking about bringing a VoxEdit asset from VoxEdit into the Game Maker. And this is a process that you're going to get used to over time. And it's something that a lot of people are scared of their first couple attempts. So I'm going to walk you through it. This is a good place to start. Welcome in, friends. I see you've got Cold Cuts, Tom, Slaterade, what's happening? So the best way to get started is by just making a generic asset in VoxEdit. So if this is your first time making an asset, let me just walk you through a couple steps here. So I've already made a rock. We're going to create a new asset here. Save it in whatever folder you choose. We're going to call this Fun Asset version 1. But just to demonstrate the basic process of creating an asset, you're going to provide what's called a controller node. Panda Pops, the lead VoxEdit community manager, a very prominent artist in the space would suggest it. So a controller node allows you to more or less have kind of a basis to build off of. So with that controller node in place, then we can start building our asset. So we'll have our fun asset here. And just for an example, I'm going to make a square. We're going to revisit something I've already made after I just put this together. So using a tool on the left side of the screen here, which I'll move my camera real quick just so you can see what I'm doing. Where's my camera? There it is. So you can see on the left side, there's this little paint bucket. I'm just going to fill this space. Or save it. Exit back out. With our square, you would then drag and drop it onto whichever node. So in this case, our fun asset. And boom. That's as easy as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There was like 5 steps there. But cool, once you have your asset, so in this case, I made a rock. And so this rock is made up of 5 different pieces, and we'll see why in a minute. But with this rock, it has animations. So we're going to revisit and talk about them, but I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to what this rock can do. This is one amazing rock. So first, we have an idle animation. So by default, it's just a rock. It's just doing rock things, just sitting there, chilling. But then it can break. So our rock can break open. For this example, it's less than a second long, this animation. So we can see the rock just kind of shatters. If you all are interested in how I got from point A to point B, I can help you with that. However, just to kind of summarize, each one of these pieces, I added keyframes. So we can see down here at the bottom, these are what are called keyframes. So we have the 0-second keyframe, so that's where it starts. And then about a second later, we have our last keyframe, so that's where it ends. And of course, we have the keyframes in the middle that provide that animation, that popping look. So outside of this break animation, which I've labeled break 01, we have broken. So it's essentially the same exact animation, but paused on that last keyframe. So those are the 3 animations we're going to be playing with and taking a look at. So we have just an idle, we have the full break, and then we have the broken. So with that, now we're going to go through the process of uploading this to the Sandbox website, which you can then access via the Game Maker. So to export, we'll go to File, Export, Export to Marketplace. Then you get to pick whatever thumbnail you like. It doesn't matter which one you prefer. There's no real benefit of a specific thumbnail. However, the best looking one is what you usually go with. And I would argue that you should try with your collection to always use the same one. Personally, I like the second or the third because of the way they're facing. So it has a little bit more of that default light. Also, whatever direction your asset is facing. And then we can pick what default animation we'd like for our asset to be spawned in. So for us, we just want that default rock. So we'll click the export button. And so now it's going to load the asset on sandbox.game. So I'm adding it to my main account here. We're going to do new asset. And then we're going to label it the Sandstorm Rock. Sandstorm is my rock. I don't know about you guys. We're not going to provide a behavior, but let's just say you had a character. You could give it a enemy or ally behavior that it would come to your aid. It could just be a citizen that roams around. Sometimes you have a door. So if you have a door behavior, you can set it as default here. For us, we aren't going to give it anything for now. We can give it a description if we wanted to. And then we're also going to pick a category. So our category is going to be nature. We'll just leave it at that, but you can have up to 3. Then we're going to pick a theme. For the most part, these themes are kind of angled at Sandbox's lore. So Sandbox has factions such as the Oracles, the Heroes, and the Scientists. Heroes are kind of like Ice, Nordic, Viking. The Oracles are kind of like Elvish, Green, Nature. And then the scientists are kind of tech, science, and more or less that futuristic type of aesthetic. And then the sandbox is just another theme that I personally don't add a theme to most of my assets because they don't fall under those categories. So the sandbox might be like default, or maybe like your tools that you use. Attributes. We talked about these a little bit this week, but you can add gems to your assets. You do not have to mint them, but by adding gems such as power, defense, magic, speed, or luck, you can give it extra boosts whenever it's interacted with. For now, we're not going to add any of these. If you all would like me to go into detail on what I know about gems and catalysts, feel free to ask. And so now that we're happy with our sandstorm rock, we'll go ahead and save it as a draft. And now it's going to show up in our inventory. So we'll go ahead and save our project in VoxEdit, and then we're going to hop into the game maker. So you want to open up the game maker and go to whichever map you're working on. Ooh. Hey, welcome back. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Everything's good. I just had a panic attack because I was like, oh geez, was I muted that whole time? But no, we're good. So now that we're back in the game maker, we can open up our inventory by hitting L on our keyboard, and we'll search for our rock. So our sandstorm rock, we can place on the ground. And now that it is interactable in the space, we'll take a look at it, but we're also going to take a look at the animations. So the first thing we'll do is walk up to it, and we'll try slashing through it. Yeah, that's a nice rock. Pretty good rock there. For now, I'm going to turn off this quest that was kind of assigned. If you ever need to interact with your quests and customize them, it's in the rules section. For now, I'm going to require a message for that first one so it doesn't pop up on us. But let's go ahead and take a closer look at our rock and what we can do with it. So we have a rock and we made 3 animations for it. Welcome in. How's it going, Karatos? Oh, 24K. So with our rock, we have 3 animations. So let's go ahead and add an animated decoration to all 3 of these. So animated decoration, as we saw in a previous tutorial, allows us to choose between a drop down here of what animation is either A, looping, or just static. So for our static animations, we had the idle and the broken. And we don't need to loop these because, as we saw, they were a single frame. I would argue that having this turned off when you're using a single framed animation will help with the overall performance, because otherwise, by checking the loop, it's going to continuously tell an object to play the animation. So we have our idle, we have the break, and we have the broken. So let's see what those look like in game. Ooh, so it looks like we have an error on my one asset here, so we're going to take a look at that one. The break looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. And then, of course, we have our normal. So I'm glad I messed up on this one, so we can take a closer look at what might have happened behind the scenes here. So we're going to play it one more time, and we can see now that I've checked the loop, it is in fact looping with some animation back in VoxEdit. So let's go ahead and reopen our rock in VoxEdit. And we can see with the broken animation that the controller node still had a keyframe at the very last second, 4 seconds in. So if we delete that, it's no longer going to loop and cause that kind of piece together animation. So we can save this, and now we can re-export it. So we'll file, export, export to marketplace. Ooh, so one thing to note is because I was working in the broken animation, that's the thumbnail that appeared. Even though we changed the default animation to whatever we like, the thumbnail is whatever we ended or saved our project on. So we're going to place it back on idle, save it, and then export it again. So file, export to marketplace. So we have our rock, and I'll choose the second out of the 8 variations. So you basically get any of these thumbnails to pick between. Doesn't matter for the game experience itself, but rather for your own collection. And we'll pick idle as our default. Oh, Moobot's telling us this is a rerun. Sometimes doing the wrong thing. Exactly, Caratros. Learning by mistake has often been my experience. But you all get to benefit from my mistakes, aka my experience. So, now that we have saved and exported our asset, this time we're going to click the replace asset. We'll search for our rock, we'll check it, and continue. And so now we'll go through that same process, but everything was saved from what we filled out earlier. Oftentimes, you can just click ahead to that 4th summary page, and this time we'll save as draft. Back in VoxEdit, we'll go ahead and save, and then we're going to tab back to the drafts gallery. So we're going to save in the Game Maker, and we're going to exit and enter back in. That way it refreshes our Sandstorm rock. Cold cuts, no worries. That's a great song, by the way. I love that song. Not even joking. I know that song. Anyway, HD Sandstorm, we'll enter back in. And so now, if we play our experience, we'll see that our rock is currently reset to a different animation, so it's not in the broken state, which is what we had just fixed. So we need to test this a little bit. I think I actually have to remove and re-add our rock. So I'm gonna go ahead and drag and drop our rock to our hotbar here. And this time I'm going to animate it and place broken 01. Interesting. So our broken state is not actually broken. So let's take a look at this back in VoxEdit. See what went wrong. So if we tab to our rock, we can see our idle state is just a normal rock. Our break state is the rock breaking, and our broken state appears to be working as intended. So, that being said, this reminds me of a little tip that some of you Vox editors might know about, but we're supposed to close our keyframes. So, by closing your keyframe, so we have our first keyframe here, in theory, by closing it, so we can see I went one frame ahead and closed it, that prevents the sandbox game engine from assuming it's the idle state. So I believe that's what's going on behind the scenes, is our idle state, which is this blue, is the default. And so the game is assuming that because it's a single state or a single frame, that it is the idle. So by adding one frame, thus closing the animation, so it's still quote unquote an animation, even though it's a single frame. And we'll do the same with our idle state. This will basically tell the game engine that, hey, there's an animation here, rather than assume it's just the same idle state. So we'll go through the process of re-exporting it one more time. Who doesn't close their keyframe? It's a shame, Bell, says Tom. Tom, this was a good example. So mistakes are good examples, I'd say. So we're using my my mistake as a learning experience. So we'll go ahead and we'll save our rock, export it one more time. I'll go ahead and log out of GameMaker so we can log back in. Back on the Sandbox Marketplace, we're going to do the same process of replacing our rock. So our rock, we can continue and then skip ahead to the summary page before saving it. Save as draft. One thing you can always do, and this I do recommend for those of you testing your animations, is you can click on your asset in your inventory and then you can view a drop-down menu of each of your preset animations. So now we'll log back in to the GameMaker. Welcome in, A's. Great, so if everything's set up correctly, which who knows anymore, it should now just stand or stay on that second animation. So we can see we have our idle, we have our break, and then we have our broken. So with the break, we're going to turn off the loop. Also, we're going to want to turn off the broken loop. We can see when we start the game, it actually transitions from the idle to the broken, which is interesting. I didn't really understand that until I saw it in person. So, how can we interact with this object, you might be wondering? Why would we want to break a rock? Well, I'm glad you asked. We can now create an animation based on what we're provided with. So, let's just say I wanted to smash a rock. I can do that one of two ways. So we'll set up a couple different interactions. We could have a health component, so we're actually destroying this rock. And then, once we destroy it, we're going to give it a negative delay, so it's instant. If you didn't know, when you have a health component, if there is a 0-second delay, it has a brief hesitation where it kind of blinks red. So we'll actually watch it happen. We'll test it, and I'll show you. We'll keep the health bar, so we can watch the health be depleted, but we're going to send a message. So we'll do rock.1.spawn. I like to put periods or dots in my messages because it makes the words easier to read. You can either remove the periods, you can actually use spaces. However, just keep it consistent. So we'll do rock.spawn spawner because we're going to tag a new entity underneath this rock. So for most of you, when you're just starting out, you're probably going to be using number pads. I've made custom assets for my own work, but for now, let's go ahead and use the number pad. This number pad is going to use an asset spawner, and it needs to have the tag rock.spawner. So what will happen is we're now going to adjust the asset spawner behavior here to where it's invisible. We don't want to see this number pad. We want it to spawn that rock. Let's go ahead and favorite this rock so it's easier to find. I already decided that this is not the correct method, simply because with an asset spawner, we can't spawn it broken. As you know, I set up an idle animation, which is just this rock. So an asset spawner, we are unable to tell it what animation to spawn with. So we're going to have to do a little bit more fancy footwork, if you will. So instead of an asset spawner, we're going to have this rock or this number pad act as kind of an asset to spawn to. So our broken rock is going to respawn, and we can use either of these, break or broken. It's going to respawn at this tag we just set up, rock.spawner, and it's going to use that same message. So rock.1.spawn. And we can remove the other messages here. So we saw that when this rock is destroyed, it's sending out this message, rock.1.spawn. And it's sending it to this tag, rock.spawner. We've just established this rock, which is a fake rock. We will not see it until it respawns. But we noticed that rock.1.spawn is what destroys it. And when it's destroyed, it's going to spawn at the rock.spawn point. I need to change the tag for our number pad. So this is going to be our rock.spawn point, which we're going to hide inside the rock. So this should work. Let's go ahead and break this rock. And we'll see that it destroys the rock. However, there's a different method. This is just one of many. There's more than one way to skin a cat, as they say. Don't go skinning cats. So, this next one, we're going to use a door behavior. This is probably going to be my preferred method. So we're going to do rock.to.destroy as the message. And this message is going to play an animation. So you'll notice that my closed animation is going to be idle, which is what we're looking at right now. But the breaking animation is going to be break 01. We're going to edit the logic here and notice that it starts on closed. So it's going to start as idle. But when this message is received, rock.to.destroy, it's going to play this animation. So what we can do then is hide a rock inside of it with a health component that will send out that message, rock.to.destroy. And we're going to send it to rock.to. So we can tag this asset as rock.to. So what's going to happen is this invisible rock, so I'm going to hide the visibility. I want to keep the collisions on. That's important, and we'll see why in a second. But when I destroy this rock, it's sending out rock.to.destroy to rock.to. And we already set up this rock to be waiting for that same message, rock.to.destroy. And it has that message or tag required so that the message can be received, rock.to. So now, if I break our rock, we can see the rock breaks open. So that's the way I would go about destroying these assets. One thing to note is we are able to walk through it. Door behaviors, by default, allow characters to walk through an asset. So that's why we added the collision to the rock that was hidden inside of it, so that we couldn't collide with the rock should it break open. But when it's broken, then the asset is non-collidable because it's open. It's like a door. It's acting like a door. So we can take another look at this asset. When we broke this rock, instead of playing the animation, it spawned the broken rock. And that didn't really look that great. Mainly because it had this yellow kind of highlight to it. So let's just take a look at that one more time. So when I destroyed this rock, we can see a new rock kind of spawned on top of it, and it had this yellow hue to it. There's sadly no real way around that. I've found ways to cheese it, as they say. So if you wanted to use this same method, what you can do is you can cause this asset to not be the health component. So we see rock.spawner is the tag. We're going to copy this tag and place it underneath our rock. So this is a little bit more complicated. It's kind of a secondary way to do what we've done, but I wanted to show it anyway. So we're going to have our rock.spawner, and the rock.spawner is going to have that health component, the same one that we set up on this rock. So we're using the rock.spawn point, negative death delay, and an instant death message. So respawn, negative death, we'll hide the health bar, and it's waiting for rock.1.spawn. So what will happen is when we destroy this rock, it's going to send the death message to this number pad, which we're going to place as a parent. So we'll do parent rock. And this will be our child rock. So if we open up the hierarchy, which is the bottom left button, and we search rock, we have our parent and our child rock. So, as we can see here, the parent is controlling the child. So that means if our number pad here respawns, it's going to respawn with the rock above it. And so I went ahead and placed the rock 1, 2, 3 clicks. So I was holding down shift on my keyboard while moving using this gizmo. So this is the y-axis gizmo. So using that, I moved it 1, 2, 3 clicks above. So what I'll want to do is move this spawn point 1, 2, 3 clicks below. So now, when I destroy the rock, it's going to cause this number pad to respawn on this number pad, thus causing this rock, as it unfolds, to be on top of this rock. And it's gone. So it looks as though our rock did not respawn. So let's take a quick look at why that might be. So I'm going to test a few things out here. The first one being our spawn point. So I can see our rock is nowhere to be found here. Oh, I know why. Because we still have the health component. So we didn't remove the health component from our rock. So now it should spawn. There we go. So following that same logic, we're going to hide the number pad 1, 2, 3 clicks beneath. And we want our animated decoration to break. We don't want it to loop, so it won't exactly play the animation. It'll just kind of spawn as a broken rock. But it still works. And this time we're colliding with it. This is my preferred method. So basically we had the invisible rock inside of a door behavior rock, so that it basically unfolds like a door would. So if you guys have any questions, now's a good time to ask them. Meanwhile, we're going to start taking a look at other animations and how to use them. So one thing we can do is with these characters that are provided, we can cause them to animate when we talk to them. So what we'll do is we'll walk over to Jet here. So it looks like Jet already has a copy of himself waiting to be interacted with. So taking a look at what is going on behind the scenes here, we can see Jet has a toggle behavior on him. So I'm actually not going to interact with this Jet. Instead, we'll make a new target for us to test things with. So let's pick a character, any character. I'll put a cat, and we'll put Miss Fine Arts here. So let's say that both of these characters have either a animated decoration or a door behavior on them. So there's a reason why I like to use the door behavior, and that allows us to cycle between two different animations. So our cat here, when we talk to Miss Fine Arts, she's going to say a message. Hello, have you seen my yarn anywhere? We'll see. And so it'll appear as though she's talking to the cat. So this will be Miss.1. So that message is then going to be received by our cat here. So Miss.1. We can also add another command. So we'll do Miss.2. And we can even make the cat have a meow question mark, waiting for the Miss.1. So what will happen is he's going to play an animation. We'll say the detection 01. And by default, maybe he'll play dead. No, that's not right. We'll do just an idle animation for the default. And then lastly, what we can do is we can have a timed animation. One thing I'll do before I continue is I'll actually tag these assets so that I can communicate with them through other means. So this one will be Miss, and this will be Cat. So what I can do now is I can add a health component on a timer. So whenever I talk to Miss here, after 6 seconds, it's going to send out a message once Miss.1 was received. That message will be Miss.2. And so who will receive it? Miss will receive it, and Cat will receive it. And so we can hide this and place it inside of Miss here. So that way it appears as though it's above her head, and we'll call it Miss Fine Arts because that's her name. Miss Fine Arts. So if everything was set up correctly, when I talk to her, she'll say, hello, have you seen my yarn anywhere? Azriel the cat will say, meow. And then the cat will just pretend like nothing happened. So after that, we're gonna want her to say, oh, I'm on to you. We'll go ahead and tag this as Miss. We'll label this asset as Miss Fine Arts. And we'll add a speaker behavior that's waiting for Miss.2. It'll say, oh, I'm on to you. You've been a bad kitty. So she'll say that after that 6-second delay we set up on the other asset. And we're going to hide another asset inside of our cat here, providing collisions. So as we saw with our rock here, the door behavior causes an asset to be non-collidable. So it's important to have some sort of asset, whether it be another version of the character or a long or semi-tall asset to act as that collision, or else the character or the player will seem as though they're a ghost, and we don't want that. So now we're going to have our same cat here, but this time an invisible version that is colliding or inside of our door version, who says meow. And this time they're waiting for Miss.2. So if we talk to her, she says, "Hello, have you seen my yarn anywhere?" The cat says meow. And then after a brief delay, it says, "Oh, I'm on to you. You've been a bad kitty." Meow. So that's another example of how you can add animations to your game. And it's good to play with the time. I would suggest that giving a delay of 10 to 20 seconds, both with the words being spoken, as well as any health delays you're using. I think for our use case, we're going to make the second message appear 1 second earlier. That way it kind of swaps them out. And then with our cat here, we'll have both of his messages also be 10 seconds long. So when you see this auto hide delay, that means it's appearing above his head for 10 seconds. We had our health delay at 9, and this message will also put at 10. So it's important to note, whenever you're using a different asset for a character, such as a number pad, you'll want to put their name rather than the number pad, so it appears as though they're talking. So Ms. Fine Art says, "Have you seen my yarn anywhere?" Asriel says, "Meow." And then she says, "Oh, I'm on to you. You've been a bad kitty." So let's take another look at door behaviors on animated components. So we can see that our character here can play or loop an animation. And what's nice with characters is they have a whole slew of animations. So we can have our character continually talk or clap. We can cause them to do anything that's on this list here. So perhaps she's on the cell phone. Wow, the VoxEdit artist took it an extra mile and actually made her lips move too. And whoever made this asset hid away their painting set. I think that's a great touch. So what we can do is we can actually turn this behavior on and off by using the toggle behavior switch. So by default, we'll have it off. And then we can try to turn it on with the interact. And then for this character, we'll turn off the loop and we'll see what happens. So a couple things to note here. When we turned off the loop, she's now kind of stuck in this idle state, and it doesn't even have the idle breath. So when you turn off the loop, it kind of removes any sense of animation. And then with this character, for whatever reason, and this is something I've noticed with many humanoid characters, is the idle prone condition becomes the default. But at least we had the interact as the toggle here. So now she'll be on the phone and it's going to loop. So let's try the reverse now. So now when we talk to her, she'll just get down on the ground, I guess. And then with this character, we'll try something else. So the only things that we can customize animations with are the animated decoration, the door behavior, and that's pretty much it. We can't use any of these other assets with animations. So one thing we could try is just seeing how she interacts as a citizen. So now she just roams around. If you attack her, she'll run. This character, when we interact, we turn off the behavior. But what we want to do now is set up a way for us to do more than two animations. So as we saw with the door behavior, we can interchange between two. So this is a more advanced technique that I've also covered on my streams. But what we're going to do is we're going to set up a timed interaction. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3 animations, and of course you can do more. And we'll start our platform over here. So this lamp that I've created is going to act as an asset that will be detected by our 3 number pads here. So it's going to go from one point to another. We can see by adding this X offset, our lamp will go all the way to the left. And it has a wait duration, so it waits 3 seconds before it begins. We'll go ahead and give it a tag. So in this case, I'm going to label it a lamp. And then we're going to give a detection or speaker, detect entity. And the message that it's going to spit out will be lamp.1. I think for this case, it'll be fine. So lamp.1. And you can see I typed into the text.display. And so this, as a game developer, is your best friend because you can watch things happen when you're in play mode. So what I like to do is for whatever message is being said or spoken, I'll type into the text.display. So our number pad here is going to say out loud when our lamp, and you can see I'm placing the lamp in the detect target tag. So when the lamp is detected, and we're going to reduce the range here to 1. So when our white lamp here gradually moves, it's going to change something because we're saying a message here. So I'm going to go ahead and set that up with these other 2 number pads. So this time it's going to be lamp 2. And then finally lamp 3. One thing I will adjust just for timing is making this lamp travel slower. So it's going to be very slow. So let's just watch this happen in real time. So we can see our lamp has already begun. And so our number pads are now detecting the lamp as it gets close. And so, with those messages set up, we can now make our characters do specific actions. So what we want to do is we want these characters to spawn on top of each other. And they're each going to be doing a different animation. So for this case, because I made 3, what I want to do is I want the characters to spawn on top of each other, but then I also need them to be removed when the next animation happens. So there's a specific set of interactions that need to happen. So we first have our character here, and she is going to be on her cell phone. So this is the very first character. All we need is an animated decoration. And then we're going to anchor her, so she's going to be the child to this red lamp. So this will be Miss Lamp 0. And we're going to make it have the plant behavior. We'll go ahead and set up lamp.1 as what's going to destroy it. And so now we can anchor these two. You can also have these speak a message, but we're not going to do that for now. Instead, we'll label these so I can find them easier. So again, our lamp is going to be the parent. And so she'll be removed because we're using the plant behavior, as we saw in a previous episode, destroys an asset without an animation. Think of it as a cow eating grass. A cow, when it eats grass, the grass doesn't explode. If you had given a health component to this grass, by default, the health component provides an explosion when it dies. But if you provide a plant behavior, instead, it's just going to remove it from the game. So what we're going to do is now we're going to place over here, and first we're going to notice that how many clicks away Miss Fine Arts is from this anchor. So we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We also want to make sure they're on top of each other. So now that they're spawning on top of each other, we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you'll see why in a moment. So now that we have our character spawning 8 steps away, I'm going to copy her. And holding down shift so it's snapping to the grid, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. Oops. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this version is going to be Miss Fine Arts 1. Our lamp will also be 1. And we'll notice here that our plant behavior needs to be a different message. So this one will be blinked out of existence. Again, a plant behavior completely removes it from the game. But our health component is what's going to respawn the character in the place we want it to be. And it's going to use that same distance away. So again, this is a more complicated game making technique that I've been using in my own experiences. It didn't seem like anyone else had comments or questions, and you are still welcome to add them into our Twitch, YouTube, or Twitter chat. But for now, I'm just kind of displaying a mechanic that I kind of stumbled upon in a way. And so, what we're going to do is set up the health component to be destroyed on lamp.1. And when it's destroyed, it's going to be respawning on this lamp here. But as we saw, our lamp.1 is removing it. So instead, we're going to add a new target here that has our lamp.respawn. So this is a new respawn point. So we'll do lamp.respawn point. And we'll place it directly on top of the other one. So with these set up, we're going to do respawn to tag being lamp.respawn point. And we're going to hide the death delay. So this one is waiting for this message, which we set as lamp.1. So as we saw, that's happening when this white lamp arrives at this number pad. And so that means when this white lamp here arrives at the second number pad, it's going to blink this lamp out of existence, taking this version of our character with it. This being our next version of Miss Fine Arts, we'll have a different animation. We'll just give her congratulate for now. We're going to make a duplicate of her and make her step back one space. We'll change her animation. She'll do a dance. And we'll duplicate this. And this will be Miss Lamp 2. This will be Miss Fine Arts 2. And we'll parent them before we continue. But this version is waiting for lamp.3. And it's going to respawn when the previous lamp.2 is detected. And lastly, we'll make one more version. This will be Miss Lamp 3. And this we haven't set up yet. We have not made a number pad that detects a fourth time. This is our third number pad. But we can still respawn our character here on the fourth one. And we'll go ahead and place her here. And this time we'll give her that paint animation, if it's here. So this was a custom animation provided by the voxel asset itself. So now that we have that set up, we can now search Miss Fine Arts here. Or we'll do it by number here. We're going to parent each of them together. So the lamp is the anchor. So we're parenting the person to the anchor. And so what should happen is we're watching this character and we can see that one version of her is being blinked out, whereas the other one is being spawned in. And it's happening simultaneously so that we as the player don't really see that there is a cut. You know, they're not actually revealing themselves to be blinking out as that had happened. So it appears as though this character did not die. So that's what should have happened. So now we can take a look. Behind the scenes, this lamp did not receive the correct message. We wanted lamp.3 here. And what we can do is set up when our lamp reaches this last part, it'll say lamp 4. So we'll try that one more time. And so this is a way to more or less fake having more than 2 animations. If you're only putting 2 animations in your game, you should use that rock method that we'll take one last look at. But we can see on a timer here, she's playing looped animations. So she's still looping this dance. But when that timer or this platform here reaches that point, it's causing the last version to be removed and the new version to replace or respawn where she was currently standing. And you could actually continue this. However, it is worth noting that this is a one-way animation. I would generally not advise you to have a looping version of this. In fact, I don't even think it's quite possible because I'm essentially replacing an asset by blinking a new one out. You could, in theory, cause more of these characters to be ready. So like this could, in theory, continue on. So like you could get to this fourth one But then you would have another message here, and another message here, and another message here. And you could keep going. And you could even adjust the timer to where, this could be almost semi-permanent. And of course, you could also add a component here that could stop and start your platforms. However, I hope that example could benefit one of you out there in the audience. Before we end for today, I just wanted to cover this one more time, where you can either A, destroy a rock, causing one to respawn that is broken, or you can use a door behavior to cause the animation to occur when you destroy the asset that's inside of it. So this hidden version of our rock, when we destroyed it, it was sending out a message. That message was being sent to a specific rock, rock point 2, which if we were to take a look at this rock, it has a door behavior. So by default, it was closed. But then it received that message, rock point 2, point destroy, which caused it to break, giving us that animation of a breaking rock. And then we played around with kind of a conversation element, where Miss Fine Arts here was saying, "Hey, have you seen my yarn anywhere?" And the cat was meow, meow. And then he says, "Oh no, I'm onto you. You've been a bad kitty. Meow." One thing we might adjust here is the death delay to 10 seconds of this timer because it was overlapping. But thank you everybody for watching. It didn't seem like we had many people in terms of asking questions, and that's okay. But until next time, you're able to catch these live streams at the SandStorm Meetup on Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter. So if you bring your questions next time, I'm more than happy to help you. These are live streamed. Once a week is going to be Mondays, starting next week, in the afternoon. So there will be an announcement on the SandStorm Meetup Twitter. So I hope to see you next time. But we're going to go ahead and start wrapping things up.